The Akshobya Buddha Sutra. Chapter 1. Thus have I heard. Once the Buddha was dwelling on Mount Gidhrakua, Vulture Peak, near Rajagaha, together with an assembly of 1,250 great monks. All these monks were well-known arhats who had extinguished all defilements and suffered afflictions no more. They were liberated in mind and in wisdom, and were as free and unhindered as great dragons. They had done what should be done and abandoned the heavy burdens. They had benefited themselves and severed all bonds of existence. They were conversant with the true teaching and had reached the other shore. Among them, only Ananda remained in the stage of learning. At the time, the venerable Shariputra rose from his seat, uncovered his right shoulder, knelt on his right knee, joined his palms toward the Buddha, and said, "World-honored one, how did Bodhisattva Mahasattvas of the past resolve to pursue supreme enlightenment, cultivate all pure deeds, and wear the armor of vigor, adorning themselves with merits? How did they practice non-regression from the pursuit of supreme enlightenment? May the utterly kind world-honored one reveal and expound their deeds, their vows, and their engendering of bodhicitta. World-honored one, those Bodhisattvas Mahasattva, for the benefit, peace, and happiness of gods and humans, exerted themselves to cultivate all pure deeds and wore the armor of vigor. Thereby they rendered benefit, peace and happiness to all sentient beings, and illuminated the Buddha Dhamma for bodhisattvas of the present and future. By praising merits and obtaining good roots, they caused the bodhisattvas of the present and future to learn and cultivate diligently the insight into suchness, the Dharma nature, and to attain supreme enlightenment without fail after hearing the Buddha Dhamma explained. The Buddha said, "Excellent. It is excellent, Shariputra, that you can ask me about past Bodhisattva Mahasattva pure deeds, their illumination, their great armor, and their praising of merits for the sake of embracing Bodhisattva Mahasattva of the future. Now, listen attentively and think in accordance with the truth. I will explain this to you." Shariputra said, "Yes, world-honored one, I am willing and glad to listen." The Buddha told Shariputra, 1,000 worlds from here to the east, there is a Buddhaland named Wonderful Joy, where Tathagata Great Eyes, the worthy one, the perfectly enlightened one, once appeared to expound the subtle, wonderful Dharma to Bodhisattva Mahasattva, beginning with the 6 paramitas. Shariputra, at the time, a monk rose from his seat, uncovered his right shoulder, knelt on his right knee, joined his palms toward the Buddha, and said, "World-honored one, I am determined to follow the way of the Bodhisattva as taught by the Buddha." That Buddha said, "Now, good man, you should know that the way of the Bodhisattva is very difficult to follow." Why? Because a Bodhisattva bears no malice against sentient beings. Thereupon, the monk said to Buddha, "World-honored one, I now engender supreme bodhicitta. I will seek all-knowing wisdom by doing away with crookedness and deceit, and by invariably speaking the truth. If I bear malice against sentient beings from now until my attainment of supreme enlightenment, I will be disobeying all the Buddhas, Tathagatas, who are now expounding the Dharma in numberless, countless, boundless worlds. World-honored one, now I have resolved to pursue all-knowing wisdom and dedicate myself to this. If, during this pursuit, I feel any inclination to be a Sravaka or Pratyekabuddha, I will be deceiving all Buddhas. World-honored one, now I have resolved to pursue all-knowing wisdom and am dedicated to this. If I generate any desire, hatred, or ignorance toward sentient beings, or am prone to stupor, arrogance, or misdeeds from now until my attainment of supreme enlightenment, I will be deceiving all Buddhas." Shariputra, at the time, certain other monks thought, after he has first brought forth bodhicitta, this Bodhisattva Mahasattva will wear the armor of vigor, and will never be moved by hatred or the like toward any sentient being. Shariputra, then, because of their thought, the Bodhisattva was called Akshokbya of the land of wonderful joy. When Tathagata Great Eyes, the worthy one, the perfectly enlightened one, saw that this Bodhisattva had obtained the name Akshokbya, he rejoiced over the name and acclaimed it as excellent. The 4 Deva kings, Sakra and Brahma, upon hearing this name, also rejoiced over it. Shariputra, in that Buddha's presence, Bodhisattva Mahasattva Akshokbya continued, "World-honored one, now I have resolved to pursue all-knowing wisdom and am dedicated to the attainment of supreme enlightenment. If my practice, from now until my attainment of supreme enlightenment, is ever contrary to these words, then I will be deceiving all the Buddhas, the Tathagatas, who expound the Dharma in numberless, countless worlds. World-honored one, now I have made this great decision and have dedicated myself to it. If I say anything that is not in harmony with the recollection of the Buddha or will all-knowing wisdom from now until my attainment of enlightenment, then I will be deceiving all Buddhas. World-honored one, now I have brought forth this aspiration and am dedicated to it. If I remain in the household life instead of renouncing it in any lifetime from now until my attainment of supreme enlightenment, then I will be disobeying all Buddhas. World-honored one, now I have resolved to pursue all-knowing wisdom. If I leave the household life in every lifetime, but do not beg for food, take only one meal a day, practice temperance in eating, limit my clothing to the 3 garments, wear garments of cast-off rags, sit anywhere, practice never lying down, live in a secluded forest, rest under a tree, sit in the open air, or live among graves from now until my attainment of supreme enlightenment, then I will be deceiving all Buddhas. World-honored one, now I have resolved to pursue great enlightenment and am so dedicated. If I cannot attain unimpeded eloquence to expound the wonderful Dharma from now until my attainment of all-knowing wisdom, then I will be deceiving all Buddhas. World-honored one, now I have thus resolved. If I do not remain dignified in standing, sitting, and walking from now up to my attainment of supreme enlightenment, then I will be deceiving all the innumerable Buddhas. World-honored one, now I have thus resolved. If I commit any major offense against sentient beings, or lie, or speak in a worldly or boisterous manner, or have any inclination to defeat others in argument from now until my attainment of all-knowing wisdom, then I will be deceiving all the countless Buddhas. World-honored one, now I have resolved to pursue all-knowing wisdom and am firmly dedicated to the attainment of supreme enlightenment. If, when expounding the Dharma to women, I do not keep in mind impermanence, suffering, emptiness, or the absence of self, but am attracted by the women's appearance and smile broadly, then I will be deceiving all Buddhas. World-honored one, I have now resolved to pursue all-knowing wisdom and am firmly dedicated to the attainment of supreme enlightenment. If I look around and gesture frivolously when expounding the Dharma, or do not regard other bodhisattvas as great masters when I see them, then I will be deceiving numberless Buddhas. World-honored one, now I have resolved to pursue all-knowing wisdom. From now until my attainment of supreme enlightenment, if I sit down to listen to heterodox doctrines or pay homage to heterodox Sramanas and Brahmins, instead of listening to the Dharma and paying homage to Buddhist Sramanas and devotees, then I will be deceiving all Buddhas. World-honored one, now I have brought forth this great aspiration. From now until I attain supreme enlightenment, if, when practicing the giving of material things or the giving of the Dharma, I am partial or discriminate among the recipients of my offerings, then I will be deceiving all Buddhas. World-honored one, now I have resolved to pursue all-knowing wisdom. From now until I attain supreme enlightenment, if, when seeing criminals about to be punished, I do not save them even at the risk of my own life, then I will be deceiving all Buddhas. Shariputra, from the time when this bodhisattva began to cultivate such a great practice up to his attainment of supreme enlightenment, not a single sentient being about to be punished for some crime was not rescued by him. Shariputra, at the time, a monk thought, the Tathagata will be the witness for this Dharma practitioner, as will these gods, humans, asuras, and so forth. Shariputra, thereupon, perceiving what the monk thought, Tathagata Great Eyes, the worthy one, the perfectly enlightened one, will be his witness, as will these gods, humans, asuras, and so forth. Any monk or any bodhisattva Mahasattva who thus wears the armor of great vigor to pursue supreme enlightenment will surely attain it. Shariputra, after that, the bodhisattva Mahasattva Akshokbya further said to the Buddha, World-honored one, now I have resolved to pursue all-knowing wisdom. If I mention any offense committed by, or any dissension among, monks, nuns, laymen, or laywomen from now until my attainment of supreme enlightenment, then I will be disobeying all Buddhas, the Tathagatas. World-honored one, I will devote myself to the practice of this vow until I attain supreme enlightenment, so as to make my Buddha land vast and pure and the Sravakas there all faultless. World-honored one, from now until my attainment of supreme enlightenment, if I, who resolve to pursue all-knowing wisdom, have any sensual desire resulting in an ejaculation, even in a dream, then I will be disobeying all Buddhas, the Tathagatas. World-honored one, I will follow this practice until I realize supreme enlightenment, so as to make the monastic bodhisattvas in my land free from ejaculations, even in dreams. World-honored one, I have resolved to pursue all-knowing wisdom. If, however, when I have attained supreme enlightenment, the women in my Buddha land have the same female faults as those of women in other lands, then I will relinquish supreme enlightenment. If I do not relinquish it, then I shall be cheating all Buddhas. Shariputra, at the time, Tathagata Great Eyes prophesied Bodhisattva Akshokbya attainment of supreme enlightenment, saying, "Good man, in a future life you will become a Buddha named Tathagata Akshokbya, the worthy one, the perfectly enlightened one, the one perfect in learning and conduct, the well-gone one, the world-knower, the unexcelled one, the great tamer, the teacher of gods and humans, the Buddha, the world-honored one." The prophecy was similar to Dipankara Buddha's prophecy of my attainment of supreme enlightenment. Shariputra, when Bodhisattva Akshobya received the prophecy, there was a great light that illuminated the whole world, and the earth quaked in the 6 ways, as did the billion-world universe when I realized all-knowing wisdom. Furthermore, Shariputra, when Bodhisattva Akshobya received the prophecy from the Buddha, all the gods, dragons, yakshas, asuras, garudas, kinnaras, and mahoragas of that billion-world universe joined their palms and prostrated themselves with their heads at the Bodhisattva's feet to pay homage to him, just as all the gods, dragons, and so forth of the Soha world did to me when I realized great enlightenment here. Furthermore, Shariputra, at the moment when Bodhisattva Akshobya received the prophecy, all the pregnant women in the world gave birth to their children safely and peacefully, without travail or difficulty, the blind recovered their sight and the deaf restored their hearing, all just as it was when I attained Buddhahood. Furthermore, Shariputra, at the 2 moments when the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Akshobya resolved to pursue supreme enlightenment, and when Tathagata Great Eyes, the worthy one, the perfectly enlightened one, prophesied his attainment of enlightenment, no sentient being died an unnatural death, just as it was when I realized all-knowing wisdom. Shariputra, when Bodhisattva Akshobya received the prophecy, the sentient beings of the realm of desire brought superb delicacies to him and played celestial music for him, as offerings. Shariputra, such are the merits achieved by the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Akshobya after he received the prophecy. Then the Venerable Shariputra said to the Buddha, "World-honored one, most extraordinary is the Tathagata, the worthy one, the perfectly enlightened one, who is so skillful in explaining the inconceivable states of Buddhas, the inconceivable states of Dhyanas, the inconceivable states of dragons, and the inconceivable karmic results." World-honored one, when the Bodhisattva Akshobya abided in the initial generation of Bodhisattva, he embraced the before-mentioned merits. When he received the Tathagata's prophecy, he perfected those great, inconceivable merits. The Buddha told Shariputra, so it is, as you say." Then the Venerable Ananda said to Shariputra, "Most virtuous one, the world-honored one has explained only a small portion of that novice Bodhisattva's merits of wearing the armor of vigor, not all of them." Shariputra said, so it is. The Tathagata has only touched upon them briefly. Why? Because when that Bodhisattva first brought forth Bodhisattva and donned the armor of vigor, he achieved inconceivable, immeasurable merits. Shariputra said further to the Buddha, "World-honored one, now you have praised briefly Bodhisattva Akshobya's superb merits of wearing the armor of vigor. May the world-honored one elaborate upon them for the sake of gathering in Bodhisattvas of the present and future." The Buddha told Shariputra, "Inconceivable are the merits of Bodhisattva Akshobya when he first brought forth Bodhisattva and donned the armor of vigor. Now I will further relate to you a small portion of them. Listen attentively and think well about them." Shariputra said, "Yes, world-honored one. I am willing and glad to listen." The Buddha said, "The Bodhisattva Akshobya once made this vow, even if empty space changes, I shall not withdraw from my great vows." Because of this vow, Bodhisattva Akshobya achieved all merits quickly. Shariputra, I cannot find any Bodhisattva in the worthy Kalpa who wears the armor of vigor as Bodhisattva Akshobya did. Shariputra, the practices cultivated by Bodhisattva Precious Banner were less than a small part, or even an infinitesimal part, of those cultivated by Bodhisattva Akshobya. Shariputra, in wearing the armor of vigor, Bodhisattva Akshobya had no peer among countless thousands of other bodhisattvas. Shariputra, with his firm vows, Bodhisattva Akshokbya has realized supreme enlightenment. Now he is living in the world of wonderful joy and is named Tathagata Akshobya, the worthy one, the perfectly enlightened one. Chapter 2. At the time, Shariputra said to the Buddha, "World honored one, the Buddha has explained the merits acquired by Tathagata Akshobya when he was cultivating the Bodhisattva practices. I hope that the world-honored one will reveal and elaborate upon the merits and magnificence of the present land of Tathagata Akshobya. Why? So that sentient beings who follow the Bodhisattva path may delight in the merits of that land after hearing them and desire to see worship and make offerings to the Buddha there, and so that sentient beings in the Sravaka stage who have realized arhatship may also wish to worship, make offerings to, and serve that Tathagata after hearing of the merits and magnificence of his land." The Buddha told Shariputra, "Well said. It is excellent that you can make a request of such significance. Now listen attentively and think well about this. I will explain it to you in detail." Shariputra said, "Yes, world-honored one, I am willing and glad to listen." The Buddha told Shariputra, when Tathagata Akshobya, the worthy one, the perfectly enlightened one, realized all-knowing wisdom, he emitted a great light over the entire billion-world universe. At the same time, the earth quaked in the 6 ways. Knowing that Tathagata Akshobya had realized supreme enlightenment, the sentient beings of that world did not think of food, hunger, thirst, fatigue, a resting place, or sleep for 7 days and nights. They felt only peace, happiness, joy, love, and kindness. At that time, all sentient beings in that land, including the gods in the realm of desire, were rid of sexual desire. Why were those sentient beings able to enjoy such blessings in that lifetime? It was because of the power of that Tathagata's original vows. Shariputra, when Tathagata Akshobya, the worthy one, the perfectly enlightened one, realized all-knowing wisdom, all the sentient beings in that land joined their palms with utmost sincerity toward him. Due to this earnest admiration for the Tathagata, they were able to enjoy such innumerable blessings in that lifetime. Furthermore, Shariputra, that Buddhaland is peerless in merit and magnificence among the innumerable Buddhalands. Shariputra, that Tathagata has achieved a superbly adorned Buddhaland because he made those great vows when following the Bodhisattva path, just as I have now achieved what I originally vowed to achieve. Shariputra, when Tathagata Akshobya, the worthy one, the perfectly enlightened one, realized supreme enlightenment, at that instant, at that very moment, all the sentient beings of that billion-world universe, with or without the Deva eye, could see Tathagata Akshobya. Shariputra, it was also the fulfillment of that Tathagata's original vows that caused the sentient beings to attain this blessing. Moreover, Shariputra, when Tathagata Akshobya realized supreme enlightenment while sitting on the bodhisite, Parpiyan, the king of demons, did not try to hinder him. Also, innumerable hundreds of thousands of gods made offerings to the Tathagata with fragrant flowers and celestial music, and each one brought fine, powdered sandalwood to sprinkle over the Buddha. Those powdered incense and garlands of flowers formed a canopy in the air. Shariputra, all this was made possible by the power of Tathagata Akshobya's original vows. Furthermore, Shariputra, when that Buddha attained enlightenment, a great light illuminated the whole billion-world universe, outshining the lights of the sun, moon, and heavens. The appearance of this auspicious sign was also due to the fulfillment of Tathagata Akshobya's past vows. At the time, Shariputra said to the Buddha, "World-honored one, when Bodhisattva Akshobya was following the Bodhisattva path in the past, he wore the great armor of vigor and was therefore able to make those great vows. Because he had cultivated the practices and vows of a Bodhisattva, he could cause innumerable hundreds of thousands of sentient beings to plant good roots leading to supreme enlightenment. He further dedicated those good roots to the attainment of the supreme enlightenment and of a pure Buddhaland, which were both fulfilled through the power of such a vow of dedication." The Buddha told Shariputra, "Moreover, in that Buddhaland, there is a Bodhi tree made of the 7 treasures, 1 league in height. The trunk of the tree is 1/2 a mile in circumference, the shade of its branches and leaves, 1 league in circumference. Under the tree is a platform, for leagues in circumference, with steps leading down to the ground. That Buddha was seated on the platform when he realized enlightenment. Around the Bodhi tree are rows of palm trees and jasmine trees, which, in the gentle breeze, gave forth a harmonious and elegant sound surpassing all worldly music. Furthermore, Shariputra, that Buddha land does not have the three miserable planes of existence. What are the three? They are the plane of hell dweller, the plane of animals, and the realm of Yama. All sentient beings in that Buddha land have accomplished the 10 good deeds. The ground is as flat as a palm and the color of gold, with no gullies, brambles, or gravel. It is as soft as cotton, sinking as soon as one's foot steps on it and returning to its original state as soon as the foot is lifted. Shariputra, that Buddha land is free of 3 kinds of sickness. What are the 3? They are the diseases caused by wind, coldness, and phlegm. Shariputra, in that Buddha land all sentient beings are free from lying, an ugly appearance, a bad odor, and filth. They have little desire, hatred, and ignorance. They are no jails or prisoners. Shariputra, in that Buddha land, no one learns or follows heterodox doctrines. The trees there are always laden with flowers and fruits, and there is also a special kind of tree named Kalpataru, which produces fine garments of 5 colors. The garments remain bright, beautiful, fresh, lean, and extraordinarily fragrant all the time. Just as celestial flowers give forth various kinds of fragrance, so do the garments. The fragrance issuing from the bodies of those who wear these garments is exactly the same as that issuing from the garments. The sentient beings in that land, like people in this world who are rich and happy, have plenty of wonderful garments to wear as they please. Shariputra, the sentient beings in that land, like those in the heaven of the 33, obtain the food and drink they need whenever they wish, and they do not discharge excrement, filth, or anything impure. Shariputra, the palaces and towers of that land are all decorated with the 7 treasures and surrounded by many ponds filled with the water of 8 meritorious qualities, to be enjoyed at will. There are also many gardens and pavilions, all pure and clean. The sentient beings there all live with joy in the Dharma. Shariputra, in that land, there is no jealousy among human beings. Every woman is better than the best in this world, and has achieved celestial merits of which earthly merits are less than 100th, 1,000th, 100,000th, 1 of 100,000 million myriad parts, 1 of any number of parts, numerical or figurative, down to 1 infinitesimal part. Shariputra, the people of that land possess lavishly decorated couches made of the 7 treasures, in accordance with their karmic results. When they sleep or rest, they use pillows made of cotton floss. All these splendid things are achieved by virtue of Tathagata Akshokbya's past vows. Shariputra, the food and drink of the people in that land are the same as those of the gods in color, fragrance, and taste. Just as the people of Uttarakuru have only one king, so the people of the land of wonderful joy have only Tathagata Akshokbya as their Dharma Lord, and just as the gods of the heaven of the 33 attend on Sakra, so the people of the land of wonderful joy all attend on Tathagata Akshokbya. Shariputra, you should know the merits and magnificence of Akshobya Buddha's land. Shariputra, none of the sentient beings of that land are mentally unrestrained. Why? It is also because of the power of Tathagata Akshobya's original vows. At the time, hearing the Buddha praise the merits of the Buddha land of Tathagata Akshobya, a monk became greedily attached to it and said, "The Buddha, world-honored one, now I wish to be born in Akshobya Buddha's land." The Buddha told the monk, "With your foolishness and delusion, how can you be born there?" Why? Because one with any passion or attachment cannot be born in that Buddha land. Only those who have planted good roots and cultivated pure conduct can be born there. Then he addressed Shariputra again. Furthermore, Shariputra, in that land, if the sentient beings wish it, a clean pond will appear at their thought, filled with the water of 8 meritorious qualities, fit for drinking, rinsing the mouth, washing, and bathing. If anyone dislikes it, it will immediately disappear. Shariputra, in that Buddha land, there is a fragrant breeze, gentle, agreeable, and pleasant to everyone's mind. The fragrant breeze carries fragrance to all gods and humans who like it, but not to those who do not like it. Shariputra, all these merits and splendors are brought about by the power the Tathagata Akshobya's original vows. Furthermore, in that land, mother and child are safe and unsullied, from conception to birth. How can this be? All this is due to the power of Tathagata Akshobya's original vows. Shariputra, in that Buddha land, there is such peace and bliss. Shariputra, in the land of Tathagata Akshobya, the worthy one, the perfectly enlightened one, there is neither trade nor trader, neither farms nor farming, there is happiness at all times. Shariputra, in that Buddha land, singing and playing do not involve sexual desire. The sentient beings there derive their joy exclusively from the Dharma. Shariputra, in that Buddha land, there are rows of jasmine trees and palm trees, which, when stirred by a gentle breeze, will give forth a harmonious and elegant sound that surpass even the celestial music played by gods. Shariputra, any bodhisattva mahasattva who intends to acquire a Buddhaland should accumulate such merits, adornments, and purity for his Buddhaland as Tathagata Akshobya did for his when he was following the bodhisattva practices. Shariputra, there is no darkness in that Buddhaland. It has suns and moons, but they do not give out light. Why? Because Tathagata Akshobya has an ever-shining light which illuminates the entire Buddhaland. Shariputra, if a wish-fulfilling pearl is put in the center of a high, large tower with its windows and doors closed tightly, the sentient beings therein will see a brilliant light day and night. In the same matter, the sentient beings of that Buddhaland always see the radiance of the Tathagata. Shariputra, the large tower stands for the world of wonderful joy, the wish-fulfilling pearl stands for Tathagata Akshobya, the light of the wish-fulfilling pearl, the light of that Buddha, and the sentient beings within the tower, the sentient beings in the world of wonderful joy. Shariputra, wherever Tathagata Akshobya walks or stands, 1,000-petaled lotus appears spontaneously to support his feet. The flower is golden in color, there is nothing like it in this world. Shariputra, this is also achieved by the superb power of the vows of Tathagata Akshobya, the worthy one, the perfectly enlightened one. Thereupon, Shariputra asked the Buddha, world-honored one, when Tathagata Akshobya enters a room, will a golden lotus support his feet or not? The Buddha told Shariputra, why do you both to ask such a trivial question? When that Buddha, the world-honored one, enters a village or a house, 1,000-petaled lotus appears with him. If any good man or good woman thinks, when the Tathagata enter this room, may the lotus beneath his feet close its petals, the flower will do immediately. All this is due to the Tathagata's awesome power. Shariputra, the lotus which holds the feet of the Tathagata, will then be given to the people, and they will build a stupa for it and make offerings to it. Shariputra, that Buddha, the world-honored one, travels through the whole billion-world universe to expound the Dharma, and where he goes, a flower appears with him. Moreover, in whatever land that Tathagata manifests himself, in that land golden lotuses also appear. By the awesome power of that Buddha, his entire billion-world universe is adorned with 1,000-petaled golden lotuses. Chapter 3. Furthermore, Shariputra, when Tathagata Akshobya expounds the Dharma, he can skillfully subdue countless sentient beings, making them all attain arhatship. Numerous are those who will dwell in the meditation of the eightfold liberation. Shariputra, Tathagata Akshobya, the worthy one, the perfectly enlightened one, has a host of Sravakas incalculable in number. I cannot find any arithmetician or any arithmetician's disciple able to compute how many hundreds of thousands of millions of billions or trillions of Sravakas there are in the host. Shariputra, no one can ascertain the total number of good men who have attained the fruit of an arhat in that land. Shariputra, in my land, indolent people can attain the fruit of Sri Mentara, they will be born as humans 7 more times and be further taught the Dharma before they can attain the superior fruit of an arhat. Therefore, I call them people of 7 rebirths. Shariputra, in the land of Tathagata Akshobya, indolent people can attain the fruit of a Sri Mentara at Tathagata Akshobya's first discourse on the Dharma, the fruit of a once-returner at the second discourse, the fruit of a non-returner at the third discourse, and the fruit of an arhat at the fourth discourse. They are said to be indolent because they fail to end all their defilements at one sitting. Shariputra, in that Buddhaland, those who have attained the fruit of a Sri Mentara will be cleansed of all defilements in one lifetime, unlike the Sri Mentaras of this world, who have to go through 7 more births. Those who have attained the fruit of a once-returner will be freed from all suffering in one lifetime, unlike those called once-returners in this world, who have to go through 1 more birth. Those who have attained the fruit of a non-returner will become arhats in one lifetime, unlike those called non-returners in this world, who have to be born in the upper realms before they are liberated, through they will not return to this earth. Furthermore, Shariputra, in that Buddhaland, there are steps made of 3 precious materials, gold, silver, and lapis lazuli, extending from the Jambudvipa to the heaven of the 33. Shariputra, when the gods of the heaven of the 33 desire to see Tathagata Akshokbya, to worship and make offerings to him, they descend the precious steps to the Buddha's place. When they find him, they can descend the precious steps to the Buddha's place. When they find that the people of that Jambudvipa are rich, prosperous, and have everything they need, they will become desirous and say, "We gods have the good fortune of gods, and the people of Jambudvipa have the good fortune of human beings. Now I see that their fortune is excellent as ours. What is more, the people of Jambudvipa have a good fortune even surpassing ours. Tathagata Akshobya is expounding of the true Dharma there. This is why we gods always prefer the human world. Shariputra, the people of that Jambudvipa have no desire at all to be born in the heavens. Why? Because, they think, in the human world, Tathagata Akshobya constantly expounds the true Dharma to benefit us, and our good fortune is not different from that of the gods. The gods of the heaven of the 33 are no match for us. Shariputra, in that land, by the Buddha's divine power, gods and humans can see each other. Just as the people of this Jambudvipa see the moon and stars, so, Shariputra, the people there can look upward and see the palaces of the gods above. Shariputra, this is also achieved by the power of the original vows which Tathagata Akshobya made when he was cultivating the Bodhisattva practices. Shariputra, the voice of the Buddha expounding the Dharma spreads over the entire billion-world universe and is heard everywhere by the 4 kinds of devotees. Shariputra, the Sravakas there wish for no other food than Dharma food. When listening to the Dharma, they are single-minded and calm, they do not feel tired physically or mentally, whether sitting or standing. Shariputra, Tathagata Akshobya stays in mid-air when expounding the Dharma to the assembly. The Sravakas, whether or not they themselves have miraculous power, all stay in mid-air by the awesome power of the Buddha when they listen to essence of the Dharma, bearing themselves with dignity in the 3 deportments. What are the 3? Walking, standing, and sitting. When these Sravakas intend to enter parinirvana, they sit cross-legged and then immediately enter it. At that moment, the earth quakes. After their parinirvana, all gods and humans come to make offerings to them. When the arhats are ready for parinirvana, they produce fire from their bodies to cremate themselves, or become extinct spontaneously, leaving no relics behind, or roam in the sky like clouds of 5 colors, and then disappear in an instant, without leaving a trace, or stand in the sky and then vanish like rain falling to the ground. Shariputra, this also because, while cultivating the Bodhisattva practices in the past, Tathagata Akshobya, the worthy one, the perfectly enlightened one, made this vow: if I realize supreme enlightenment, the Sravakas, in my land, will enter parinirvana with dignity in the 3 deportments. Furthermore, Shariputra, many Sravakas of that Buddhaland have attained the 4 fearlessnesses, and even more have attained the 4 bases of miraculous powers. Shariputra, the Sravakas of that land have accomplished these complete merits. At the time, Shariputra said to the Buddha, "World-honored one, illustrious, great, and vast indeed are the merits accomplished by the Sravakas of Tathagata Akshobya, the worthy one, the perfectly enlightened one." Chapter 4. At the time, the Venerable Shariputra thought, the world-honored one has just now discussed the merits of the Sravakas. May the Tathagata also expound the complete merits of the Bodhisattvas. Why? Because of all other merits come from them. Then, knowing Shariputra thought, the Buddha told him, in that Buddhaland, innumerable hundreds of thousands of millions of billions of Bodhisattvas attend the assembly, and, by the divine power of the Buddha, all the Bodhisattvas who have left the household life can understand, accept, uphold, read, and recite what they have heard. Shariputra, the Dharma which I have expounded in this world is a very small part, less than 100th, 1,000th, 100,000th, 100 billionth, one of any number of parts, 1 minute part, or even 1 infinitesimal part of the Dharma treasure expounded by Tathagata Akshobya. Shariputra, this is all because Tathagata Akshobya, the worthy one, the perfectly enlightened one, made this vow when cultivating the bodhisattva practices: when I attain Buddhahood, may all the bodhisattvas in my land, by my awesome power, be able to understand, accept, uphold, read, and recite whatever they hear from the Buddha. Shariputra, by the divine power of the original vow made by that Tathagata, those bodhisattvas are able to understand, accept, uphold, read, and recite with facility all they have heard from that Buddha. Furthermore, Shariputra, if those bodhisattvas want to go to another Buddhaland, wearing the native costume, speaking the local language with no accent, and acting in harmony with the customs of that land, they pay homage and make offerings to the Tathagata of that land, listen to the true Dharma, ask pertinent questions. When they have done all they return to Akshokbya Buddha. Shariputra, 996 Buddhas will appear in this world during the worthy kalpa. A bodhisattva who wishes to see these Tathagatas should make a vow to be born in Akshobya Buddha's land. Shariputra, if good men or good women, who follow the bodhisattva path, after their death in this Buddhaland or another Buddhaland, have been born, are being born, or will be born in the Buddhaland of Tathagata Akshobya, they will not believe or abide in the state of Sravakas. Why? Because those who follow the Buddha path will always meet the Tathagata, and give the celestial demon Papiyan no opportunity to hinder them. They will give up the two vehicles forever, and attain supreme enlightenment without fail. They will always participate in that Tathagata's great assemblies. Shariputra, you should know that those sentient beings who dwell in the pure Buddhaland of Tathagata Akshobya will never be subject to degeneration, seduction, or regression. They will abide in the pursuit of supreme enlightenment, have great power, be immovable, and never regress. Shariputra, if good men or good women are born in that land after their death in this world or other worlds, they will, at the time of their birth, have this thought: I have entered the Tathagata's room and have taken up my abode in the city of fearlessness. Shariputra, those bodhisattvas will comply with the parameter of wisdom in whatever they say, and they will respect one another and regard one another as teachers. Furthermore, Shariputra, of the bodhisattvas in that Buddhaland, few are householders, many are monks. By the Buddha's divine power, they can understand, accept, uphold, read, and recite whatever they heard from the Buddha. Shariputra, the lay bodhisattva mahasattvas who are unable to participate in the assembly can by the Buddha's miraculous power hear, understand, accept, uphold, read, and recite with facility the Dharma expounded, wherever sitting or standing. The bodhisattvas who have left the household life and are not in the assembly can do the same. Also, these bodhisattvas, in the course of decease and rebirth, never forget the sutras they heard, and can be born in any Buddhaland they wish. Shariputra, this is also achieved through the merits of Tathagata Akshobya's original's vows. Shariputra, if a bodhisattva wishes to see numerous hundreds of thousands of millions of billions of myriads of Buddhas in one lifetime, he should vow to be born in the land of Tathagata Akshobya. After his birth there, he will see innumerable Buddhas and plan all kinds of good routes. He can also expound the essence of the Dharma to numerous hundreds of thousands of sentient beings to increase their good routes. Shariputra, if bodhisattvas, after their death in this world or other worlds, have been born, are being born, or will be born in the Buddhaland of Tathagata Akshobya, they will all attain the stage of non-regression. Why? Because in that Buddhaland one is not obstructed by the celestial demon Papiyan or disturbed by demonic influences. Shariputra, a venomous snake subjugated by a magic spell cannot hurt anyone. Insects or worms will not be worried or afraid upon seeing it. Yet, harmless as it is still called a venomous snake because it has received the form of a snake as a result of its previous karmas. Shariputra, the same is true with celestial demon Papiyan. When Tathagata Akshobya was following the bodhisattva practices in the past, he vowed to dedicate his good roots thus: when I realize supreme enlightenment, I will subjugate all demons so that they will not cause hindrances or troubles. They will not hinder or trouble the bodhisattvas, sravakas, ordinary people, or others in the whole billion-world universe. Subjugated as they are, the demons remain in demons' forms because of their previous karmas. They regret this in the heaven where they are born, and blame themselves for being incarnated as beings called demons owing to their previous karmas performed from beginningless time. In spite of the power they enjoy, they loathe their state. When that Tathagata expounds the Dharma, the demons and their retinues are often among the listeners. After hearing the Dharma, they become pure in mind and yearn to be Sravakas, thinking, how can we, too, abide in the tranquility, have few desires, and be content? Because those demons have a constant desire to leave the household life and have no intention of hindering others, the Sravakas, Bodhisattvas, and ordinary people in that land can all abide in the peace and happiness. This is also due to the awesome power that Buddha's previous vigor and great vows. Shariputra, this is also a superb adornment of Akshokbya Buddha's land. Shariputra, those bodhisattvas who have received my prophecy and attained non-regression will be born in Akshokbya Buddha's land. However, Shariputra, this does not mean that I forsake the bodhisattvas born in that Buddha land. If an anointed Kshatriya king learns that there is an army of a hostile nation coming to steal his wealth and throne, he will think, my queen, concubines, and beloved children are not strong enough to resist the enemy. I will keep them, together with my treasures, in the palace, out of harm's way. Then he will overcome this enemy, so that his country is blessed with peace and freed from danger, and there is no longer any fear of disaster. Shariputra, just as the king does not abandon his treasures, beloved children, queen, and concubines, so I do not forsake the bodhisattvas, and those who follow the bodhisattva practices should know this. Like the palace, that Buddha land is free from fear, like the leader of the enemies, the celestial demon Parpiyan, in my land, tries in every way to hinder those who follow the bodhisattva practices, and like the great king who is not disturbed by the invading enemies, the Tathagata is not harassed by the celestial demons. Shariputra, suppose a man, afraid of his creditor, runs far away to the frontier. He will be spared persecution at the hands of the creditor and others concerned. Why? Because the creditor and his family cannot reach him, due to the great distance and danger involved. In the same way, the bodhisattvas born in the land of wonderful joy are beyond the reach of Parpiyan, who is kept away by the insurmountable difficulty of the journey. Shariputra, in this billion-world universe, the celestial demon Parpiyan hinders bodhisattvas and Sravakas in every way. In the land of wonderful joy, the celestial demons do not do devilish deeds. The bodhisattvas born there in the past, present, and future are free from fear forever. Why? Because when that Tathagata was following the bodhisattva path, he dedicated all his good roots. Thus, when I realize supreme enlightenment, the celestial demons will not hinder anyone or do any devilish deeds. Shariputra, just as poison loses its toxicity and becomes food for a strong man who can take it skillfully and digest it, so the celestial demons of that land, instead of doing harm, are always beneficial. Shariputra, innumerable such merits are achieved in that Buddha land. At the time, Shariputra thought, now I wish to see Tathagata Akshokbya, the worthy one, the perfectly enlightened one, and the Sravakas of that Buddha land. Thereupon, perceiving what was in Shariputra's mind, the world-honored one, by his divine power, and without rising from his seat, caused Shariputra to see all of them. The Buddha asked Shariputra, have you seen them now? Shariputra answered, yes, I have. The Buddha asked Shariputra, do you see any difference, such as superiority of inferiority, among those gods and humans? Shariputra answered, no, I do not. Why? Because I see that the clothing, food and drink, and valuable objects enjoyed by the humans of the land of wonderful joy are God's implements of pleasure. Tathagata Akshobya, expounding the Dharma to the assembly, is like a gold mountain, shining brilliantly. There are innumerable, limitless Sravakas. Just as the horizons in the four directions are boundless in the eyes of one sailing upon the great ocean, so the Sravakas there are limitless in number to the beholder. When those Sravakas are listening to the Dharma, they keep their bodies and minds as still as if they had entered dhyana, unlike the people in this world, who sway and stir, sometimes even in meditation. At the time, a thought occurred to Ananda, now I should test the power of Venerable Subhuti's eloquence. With this in mind, he said to Subhuti, we should have a look at Tathagata Akshobya, his disciples, and his Buddha land. Subhuti told Ananda, if you want to see that Tathagata, you should look upwards. After Ananda had looked upwards, he said to Subhuti, I have looked upwards as far as I could, but I saw nothing except emptiness and stillness. Subhuti said, Tathagata Akshobya, his disciples, and his Buddha land are similar to what you saw when you looked upwards. Then Shariputra said, the Buddha, world-honored one, as the Buddha he said, the bodhisattvas in this world whose attainment of Buddhahood has been prophesied are not different from the bodhisattvas born in that land. World-honored one, now I do not know why they are equal. The Buddha told Shariputra, because of the equality of the Dharma Dhatu, there is no difference between them. Chapter 5. At the time, Venerable Shariputra thought further, the world-honored one has spoken of the infinite merits of Tathagata Akshokbya, the worthy one, the perfectly enlightened one, in following the bodhisattva path. He has also spoken of the vast, great adornments of that land and the excellent, virtuous deeds of the Sravakas and bodhisattvas there. I hope that the world-honored one will further tell us about that Buddha's parinirvana and his deeds of deliverance thereafter. Then, knowing Shariputra's thought, the world-honored one told him, Shariputra, on the day of Tathagata Akshokbya's parinirvana, his magically produced bodies will appear throughout all the worlds, including the hells, and will expound the wonderful Dharma. He will subdue with the Dharma numerous sentient beings, all of whom will attain arhatship. As a result, there will be people who have attained the stage beyond learning than there were before that Buddha's parinirvana. On that day, he will also predict Bodhisattva Fragrant Elephant's attainment of Buddhahood, saying, after my parinirvana, you will become a Buddha, named Tathagata Golden Lotus, the worthy one, the perfectly enlightened one. Furthermore, Shariputra, the merits of Tathagata Golden Lotus's Buddhaland and the number of his disciples will be the same as those of Tathagata Akshokbya. Furthermore, Shariputra, when Tathagata Akshokbya enters parinirvana, the great earth will quake all over, and the whole billion-world universe will roar in the quake. The sound will reach up to the Akanis, the heaven. When the gods hear the sound, they will know that the Buddhas has entered parinirvana. Moreover, Shariputra, the forests and herbs of that Buddhaland will all incline toward the place where Tathagata Akshokbya is entering parinirvana. At the time, the gods and humans will all scatter over the Buddha garlands of flowers, many kinds of incense, and clothing. The scattered fragrant flowers will pile up around the Buddha to a height of 1 league. Furthermore, Shariputra, when Tathagata Akshokbya is entering parinirvana, all the gods, dragons, yakshas, Gandharvas, Asuras, Garuas, Kinnaras, and Mahoragas of the billion-world universe will join their palms to salute him. Also, by the divine power of the Buddha, the gods in other lands will be able to see that Buddha enter parinirvana. For 7 days and nights, these gods will be overwhelmed with grief, will desist from the amusements of gods and humans, and will feel no desire. They will say to one another, Tathagata Akshokbya has been the light of the world and the eye of sentient beings. Alas, why does he enter parinirvana so soon? Furthermore, Shariputra, Tathagata Akshokbya, the worthy one, the perfectly enlightened one, will issue fire from his own body to cremate himself. All his relics will be golden in color. Just as the Timayara tree reveals a swastika sign in its cross-section wherever it is cut, so will the relics of that Tathagata. Moreover, Shariputra, every relic of Tathagata Akshokbya will be round, with the auspicious swastika sign both inside and outside. Shariputra, just as the Pulaka tree reveals the auspicious swastika sign both inside and outside wherever it is cut across, so will the relics of that Buddha. Shariputra, the sentient beings of that land will build stupas out of the 7 treasures for the relics all over that billion-world universe, and will offer to the stupas 1,000-petaled golden lotus flowers. These stupas and lotus flowers will then serve as splendid adornments of that billion-world universe. Furthermore, Shariputra, after Tathagata Akshokbya has entered great nirvana, the true Dharma will endure in his world for 100,000 kalpa. Thereupon, Shariputra asked the Buddha, world-honored one, for 100,000 kalpa of what kind will the true Dharma of Tathagata Akshokbya endure in the world? The Buddha told Shariputra, 20 small kalpa make 1 kalpa, and the true Dharma will endure for 100,000 such kalpa. Shariputra, after the extinction of the true Dharma, there will be a great light illuminating all the worlds in the 10 directions, and all the earths will quake, making a great sound. However, you should know that the true Dharma cannot be destroyed by the celestial demons, nor will the Tathagata and his disciples pass into oblivion of their own accord. It is because people of that time will lack interest in learning the Dharma that those who can expound the Dharma will go away from them. Hearing little of the true Dharma, the people will become more incredulous, and as a result, they will not strive to practice the Dharma. Seeing the indifference of the people, monks well versed in the Dharma will naturally withdraw into seclusion and preach the Dharma no more. In this way, the subtle profound teachings of the Buddha will gradually disappear. Chapter 6. At the time, the Venerable Shariputra asked the Buddha, World-honored one, what causes and good roots enable Bodhisattva Mahasatva to be born in that Buddha land? The Buddha told Shariputra, Bodhisattva Mahasatva who wish to be born in the world of wonderful joy should follow the Bodhisattva's practices cultivated by Tathagata Akshokbya in the past, and make a great vow to be born in that land. These practices and this vow will enable them to be born in that Buddha land. Furthermore, Shariputra, if Bodhisattva Mahasatva, when practicing the parameter of giving, dedicate the ensuing good roots to the attainment of supreme enlightenment and wish to meet Tathagata Akshokbya, then they will consequently be born in that Buddha land. The same is true if they do likewise when practicing the parameter of discipline, and so on up to the parameter of wisdom. Moreover, Shariputra, the light of Tathagata Akshokbya shines over the whole billion-world Buddha land. One should vow to realize supreme enlightenment in a future life as a result of seeing this light, so that, after attainment great enlightenment in that way, he will in turn emanate a light from his own body to illuminate the whole world. Shariputra, a bodhisattva who so vows will be born in that land. Furthermore, Shariputra, Tathagata Akshokbya, the worthy one, the perfectly enlightened one, has a limitless number of sravakas. One should vow to see them and, afterwards, to perform deeds leading to the attainment of the Buddha's enlightenment. This will enable one to have the same limitless number of sravakas after he realizes enlightenment. Shariputra, a bodhisattva Mahasatva who so vows can be born in that Buddha land. Furthermore, Shariputra, in that Buddha land, there are innumerable bodhisattva Mahasatva. One should wish to see these bodhisattvas, to learn from them the practice of meditation, to be with them at all times, to study with them, the same vehicle, and to attain the ultimate goal together with them. One should wish to meet those who pursue perfect, great kindness and compassion, who seek enlightenment and sramanahood, who forego the intention to follow the two vehicles, who abide in the real emptiness, and who are constantly mindful of the name of the all-knowing Buddha, the Tathagata, and the names of the Dharma and the Sangha. Shariputra, even those good men and good women who have heard the names of such bodhisattvas will be born in that Buddha land, let alone those who plant good roots in harmony with the parameter of wisdom and dedicate them to Tathagata Akshokbya, the worth one, the perfectly enlightened one. Shariputra, these are causes and conditions which enable one to be born in that Buddha land without fail. Furthermore, Shariputra, Bodhisattva Mahasatva who wish to be born in that Buddha land should often visualize the Buddhas, the Tathagatas, expounding the subtle, wonderful Dharma in the innumerable Eastern worlds, together with their disciples. They should vow, I will realize enlightenment, expound the subtle, wonderful Dharma, and have a limitless number of disciples, just as those Buddhas do. Shariputra, these bodhisattvas should cultivate the good roots of the three kinds of recollection. They should wish to practice recollection together with all sentient beings equally, and dedicate these good roots to the attainment of supreme enlightenment. Shariputra, the bodhisattva's good roots thus dedicated are limitless. Suppose all sentient beings, each holding a container with the same capacity as that of all space, said to one of the bodhisattvas, Great man, please give me some of your good roots. Shariputra, these good roots, supposing they were material and given to the sentient beings, would fill all their containers, and the containers would be taken away without exhausting the good roots. Why? Because these good roots are dedicated to the attainment of supreme enlightenment, and so are infinite and unchangeable. Shariputra, because of these good roots, which are achieved through these three kinds of recollection and are dedicated to all-knowing wisdom, one will be followed and protected by the three jewels wherever he goes. Shariputra, you should know that if a bodhisattva has achieved these good roots, he will not fall to any miserable plane of existence, he will be able to subjugate Papian and other demons, and he will be born as he wishes in any Buddha land in the east, south, west, north, northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest, the zenith, or the nadir. Therefore, a bodhisattva Mahasatva should accumulate the good roots of such recollection, and, having accumulated them, dedicate them to Tathagata Akshobya. In this way he can be born in that Buddha land. Furthermore, Shariputra, the merits and vast adornments of the Buddhaland of Tathagata Akshobya cannot be found in any other of the countless Buddhalands. A Bodhisattva Mahasattva, therefore, should resolve thus: by virtue of these good roots, I wish to see that land, acquire its adornments, and see the Bodhisattvas there. By doing this, Shariputra, the Bodhisattva, will be born in that Buddhaland. Shariputra, Bodhisattva Mahasattva who wish to be born in that Buddhaland should generate an intense aspiration for it. Shariputra, if good men or good women have generated such intense aspiration, I will predict their birth in that Buddhaland. Shariputra, a city is not magnificent without such embellishments as towers, gardens, groves, ponds, and places for elephants and horses to roam. Through its ruler may have power to maintain peace and order. Similarly, Shariputra, since my Buddhaland does not have the same merits as Tathagata Akshobya's, it is not as magnificently adorned. Shariputra, Tathagata Akshobya leads the Bodhisattvas and followers of other vehicles in other lands as well as in the world of wonderful joy. Shariputra, if good men and good women, after hearing the Dharma door of Tathagata Akshobya's merits, are well able to accept, uphold, read, recite, and comprehend it, and wish to be born in that land, then Tathagata Akshobya will always protect and remember them until the time of their death, and will keep demons and demons' retinues from causing them to regress from their determination. Shariputra, you should know that right up to their attainment of supreme enlightenment, these good men and good women will be free from the fear of regression, free from harm by water, fire, knives, cudgels, ferocious beasts, and poisonous insects, and free from the terror of evil, humans or non-humans. Why? Because they are always protected and remembered by Tathagata Akshobya, and will be born in this Buddhaland. Shariputra, just as the sun, though far away, gives light to the sentient beings of this world, so Tathagata Akshobya, though far away, illuminates the bodhisattvas of other worlds. Shariputra, just as a monk who has the deva eye can see different things in the distance, so Tathagata Akshobya, while remaining in his own land, can see the forms of all kinds of bodhisattvas in other worlds. Shariputra, furthermore, just as a monk who has acquired the perfect command of the power of knowing others' thoughts can read the minds of sentient beings even if he is remote from them, so Tathagata Akshobya can perceive the minds of the bodhisattvas in other worlds. Shariputra, just as a monk who has attained the deva ear can hear any sound at a distance, so Tathagata Akshobya can hear the sentient beings living in other worlds say, I wish to be born in that land. Shariputra, Tathagata Akshobya knows the names of all such good men and good women. He knows, protects, and remember all those who accept, uphold, read, recite, and comprehend this Dharma door of merits. Shariputra then said to the Buddha, it is most extraordinary, world-honored one, that the Buddha, the world-honored one, protects and remembers those Bodhisattva Mahasattva. After Shariputra said this, the Buddha told him, so it is, so it is. As you say, Tathagata Akshobya protects and remembers those Bodhisattva Mahasattva. Why? Because, by protection and remembering Bodhisattvas, he protects and remembers all sentient beings. Shariputra, an anointed Kshatriya king who has many barns full of grain and beans, will strictly command the keeper to guard them well. Why? Because he will then be able to relive the hunger of sentient beings when famine occurs. Similarly, Shariputra, the Tathagata renders good protection to those bodhisattvas so that, after his parinirvana, they will realize supreme enlightenment and serve as an abundant harvest during the famine of the true Dharma. Shariputra, in this world, there are bodhisattvas who, after hearing the Dharma door of Tathagata Akshobya's merits, can accept, uphold, read, recite and comprehend it, and wish to be born in that Buddhaland. You should know that these people have attained non-regression. Shariputra, good men and good women with pure faith should expound this merit-praising Dharma door to others at all times. Those who do so will be cleansed of all defilements in their present lifetimes, or, at most, in 2 lifetimes. Furthermore, Shariputra, this Dharma door of praising Tathagata Akshobya's merits cannot be accepted by foolish, shallow people. It can be accepted and upheld only by those with profound, vast wisdom. Shariputra, those good men and good women, with such wisdom, will see Buddhas and will certainly obtain this merit-praising Dharma door in their present lifetimes. Shariputra, suppose there are priceless pearls taken from the sea. Who do you think will be the first to obtain these priceless treasures? Shariputra said to the Buddha, "World-honored one, kings, princes, and ministers will be the first to obtain them." The Buddha told Shariputra, in the same way, bodhisattvas will be the first to acquire the Dharma door of that Buddha's merits, and those bodhisattvas will attain the state of non-regression. They will surely be able to accept, uphold, read, recite, and comprehend this Dharma. After hearing it, they will diligently study the nature of suchness for the purpose of attaining supreme enlightenment. The Buddha told Shariputra, in the same way, bodhisattvas will be the first to acquire the Dharma door of that Buddha's merits, and those bodhisattvas will attain the state of non-regression. They will surely be able to accept, uphold, read, recite, and comprehend this Dharma. After hearing it, they will diligently study the nature of suchness for the purpose of attaining supreme enlightenment. Shariputra said to the Buddha, "World-honored one, if bodhisattvas wish to abide in the state of non-regression, they should accept, uphold, read, recite, and comprehend this merit-praising Dharma door after hearing it." Why? Because Bodhisattva Mahasattva who abide in this Dharma door will not regress from their realization of the Dharma nature. The Buddha told Shariputra, if a man in order to hear this Dharma gave away enough gold to fill the entire world, he might still be unable to hear it. Why? Because this meritorious Dharma cannot be upheld by sentient beings with meager blessings. Furthermore, Shariputra, if followers of the Sravaka vehicle accept, uphold, read, and recite this meritorious Dharma door after hearing it, and practice it diligently in order to conform to supreme enlightenment and suchness, they will attain realization in their next lifetimes, they will attain candidacy for Buddhahood in 2 lifetimes, they will attain supreme enlightenment in no more than 3 lifetimes. Furthermore, Shariputra, if, in pursuit of this Dharma door, good men and good women listen to, accept, uphold, read, recite, and circulate it in a village or town, and for this purpose live in the houses of lay people though they themselves are monks or nuns, I will say they are faultless and will allow them to stay in such places. Why? Because these good men and good women are trying to keep this Dharma from falling into oblivion after their death. Shariputra, even if the village or town is far away, these bodhisattvas still should go and stay there to accept, uphold, read, and recite this Dharma door, and reveal and expound it to others. Shariputra, good men and good women should make this vow, I should not think of regressing from the pursuit of supreme enlightenment, for I have heard the name of the Dharma door of Tathagata Akshokbya. Shariputra said to the Buddha, world-honored one, this Dharma door can bring vast merits. The Buddha told Shariputra, so it is, as you have said. Shariputra, if a country is assailed by hailstorms, untimely thunder, or other terrible things, good men and good women should concentrate their minds on Tathagata Akshobya and invoke his name. This will put an end to all disasters. Why? Because in the past, that Tathagata helped hundreds of thousands of dragons out of their sufferings. Because his compassionate original vows are genuine and sincere, and because he wishes to fulfill the dedication of his good roots without fail, all those who invoke his name will have their sorrow and distress relieved spontaneously, except those sentient beings who previous, evil, karmas have ripened. Shariputra said to the Buddha, world-honored one, bodhisattvas who wish to realize supreme enlightenment in this life should act as Tathagata Akshobya acted when he was fulfilling his vows. The Buddha told Shariputra, so it is. At the time, the gods of the realm of desire and the gods of the Brahma heaven all joined their palms towards Akshobya Buddha, prostrated themselves to pay homage to Tathagata Akshobya, the worthy one, the perfectly enlightened one, who is most extraordinary, and we take refuge in Tathagata Sakyamuni, the worthy one, the perfectly enlightened one of these worlds, who is so skillful in expounding this merit-praising Dharma door. Then the gods of the realm of desire strewed flowers of the coral tree and celestial incense over the Buddha. In the air, the incense and flowers fused and formed a canopy. Furthermore, the gods scattered the celestial flowers and incense toward Akshobya Buddha as offerings from afar. When the Buddha had expounded this Dharma door, 500 monks acquired mental liberation concerning the undefiled Dharma, 5,000 bodhisattvas, 6,000 nuns, 8,000 laymen, then 1,000 laywomen, and numerous gods of the realm of desire all wished to be born in that Buddha land. Thereupon, the Tathagata predicted that they would all be born in that Buddha land. When the Buddha finished expounding this sutra, Shariputra, the gods, humans, asuras, Gandharvas, Garuas, Kinnaras, and Mahorigas were all jubilant over the Buddha's teaching. They accepted it with faith and began to practice it with veneration.